Hello, everybody. Welcome to the D-Pad for our February 2024 Patreon Hangout. Holy cow. It's been a bit of a big week. Oh, I just realized I'm probably super delayed on my audio. One sec. Let me fix that. There we go. That should about do it. Yeah, I actually shouldn't have to mess with that for a little while. That was for some reason, the Switch comes in a way like the settings that I had for Pokemon Violet were such that like I needed an extra 1 second of delay on my audio for some reason. I still don't know why. But I shouldn't have to mess with that anymore. So cool. But hello. We got I'm actually still writing it. I was hoping to have it done before this, but I'm like actively still finishing it up on writing. So that should be up later tonight. For those who are curious what nobody basically is talking about, so there's going to be a post. It's actually going to be a public post because I want to field responses from both patrons and non-patrons alike. I'm going to be like blasting on Twitter. I'll probably put up some kind of separate YouTube video like Monday maybe. I was going to say this weekend, but I'm actually going to be kind of busy this weekend. But so the general gist is, for anybody who hasn't been keeping up with the Hangouts, we're going to be we're essentially going to be reevaluating how the Patreon is going to work in general. There's certain, aspects of it that seem to work okay. There's some parts that I don't, think work great. There's some parts that you guys don't think work great. And I want to improve it, make it better, make it more worthwhile, make it more worth your money. So that, everybody feels like they're getting their dollar's worth out of the Patreon. None of this is to say that we're like, so I hate selling. I hate selling to people in general. It just makes me feel kind of gross. That's not what this is. It's not me going like, well, if we made a little more money, like it's not like that. It's more a matter of like, being able to keep up with our own promises for things, being able to give you guys stuff that is actually interesting to you. And also for the non-patrons, if there's stuff that we're just kind of missing that is a good opportunity to put something together that would actually like make someone consider patronizing us if they don't already. So there's gonna be a post coming up later on tonight that kind of gets into that a little bit. I think some of our awards probably are kind of unrealistic in one way or another. Patreon also got rid of the there's like I forget what they called it. I think they just called it incentives, but the idea was like when you reach a certain dollar amount that there's a thing that's in there. We may have to restructure those. I still want to do what was it, James Cameron? Superman Lives. I think James Cameron's Spider-Man was the next one that was above where we're at right now. We might have actually hit it briefly at one point too. I still want to do those. I think with organization of stuff for the games, that's going to be a good in for me to be able to kind of chat with folks to kind of figure that out. Things have obviously gotten I actually got into this little last night during Pokemon Violet. If I'm a little tired, by the way, it was a 9-hour stream last night and I got like 4 hours sleep. So I'm a little bit foggy right now. But I'm just realizing that I completely forgot where I was going with this. That essentially things were a lot easier to do as like collaborative stuff internally in the team back when we had John and Ben living in the apartment and other folks also lived close by. John moved out. At one point, he moved to California. Then he moved back. Then he moved to elsewhere in New England and like Connecticut and all of that stuff. And he's kind of floating back and forth. He's been a little bit tricky. Ben moved as well, and he's been kind of like hanging back a little bit. I think he's trying to take a little time for himself. Lindsay moved across the country. There's a lot. It's a lot harder to get the old gang back together for stuff in one space. So I think the answer for some of these more like big group things is going to wind up being Discord and things along those lines, because it's it was a lot easier when it was, all right, let's try to get like 6 or 7 people together who all live within a 5-mile radius versus let's try and get 6 or 7 people together who literally are thousands of miles apart or have completely different time zones and all of these things. So I still want to do those. We obviously have, we have like Jeff and Dave. We have Teddy is actually kind of around-ish too. Peter obviously has been on for a lot of stuff. We have folks, but I it's a matter of just kind of figuring out all the things there. But yeah, so there's going to be some questions essentially in there, looking for feedback. I think we had a $50 tier that at the time was like, yeah, if nobody's gonna go up to this, if we ever do that, then like, I don't know, well, let's come up with a thing. And we had one that was like, let's do a like I forget exactly what it is in there right now, but I think it's like we'd do a video for whatever they want. Like the idea being like, think almost like a commercial essentially for them, for their channel, for like a product they like, kind of thing. And so far we've had I think 3 different people at various times be in the $50 tier, and nobody has wound up taking that. So I was like, okay, maybe we figure out either something else, or we just don't do $50 tier, or we allow people to do like, whatever amount they want up to, stuff. But so like, yeah, I don't know. I think there's stuff that needs shuffling. Obviously the video is super out of date. I want to update all the like main info on the front. But yeah, as far as things like, I feel like the D-pad calendar, one, it's really frustrating to update. I know that there's been a lot of points like right now where it's not updated. The Discord one is less difficult, but I just haven't made time for that, and it really doesn't take that long. So that's something I should be doing as part of my like weekend routine. But the Patreon exclusive calendar that is for all the $1 patrons, I kind of want to, I don't know. There's a part of me that would like to make that a public thing in some way, because it's nice to be able to advertise stuff that's coming up soon. Maybe it's a matter of like, anybody I'll can find out what's coming up this week, but on Patreon you can find out, what's coming up over the course of the next month, or however long. And usually I try to, when the calendar is updated, I usually try to keep it up to date as best I can up till the next major thing that's going on. So like right now, we would probably, if I update the calendar this weekend, I'll probably be updating it through until the 13th anniversary marathon stream, which is going to be, I believe, the first full weekend of April. There's going to be an official thing for that in about 2 weeks, but for now, that's the state of that. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But the calendar is also one that I've been trying to like write a like JavaScript. Just write a script essentially that handles some of that. That's all done with like manual HTML. It's so slow to put that together, and I've been meaning for years to make it more streamlined for my own sake. Like, you guys probably won't know the difference when it's been changed, but for me it's like, okay, time to update the calendar. This is gonna be like a good hour of my life is just updating an HTML page. And that's literally what I do, like, as a career is JavaScript, front end developing. So there's no reason I can't figure out a good solution for that. So, the hope is that I'll be able to put something together for that, by April. Also, any of the changes that are coming for Patreon are stuff that is going to be discussed with you guys ahead of time over the next, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And none of the changes are going to happen until April. Any changes that happen are going to take place in the transition into April. So nothing is changing this month. It'll be next month where stuff like that changes. Let's see. A little while ago, some Japanese Mega Man mobile games were dumped. Any plans for those? Yes, I'm keeping an eye on those. They're at various stages of playable and comprehensible, but they are on my radar. I have been keeping an eye on those. the biggest trick with those, we originally kind of wrote those off from the Mega Let's Play just because, one, some of them were lost to time, or we thought so, but also there's a fucking lot of Mega Man mobile games. There's like a crazy amount of them. I want to say on the Mega Man knowledge base, if you look up Mega Man mobile games, there's like 30 to 40 of them. Now, granted, most of them are probably like legit a short episode's worth of time, if that. So it's not like this is like, oh my God, we've got a year's worth of extra material all of a sudden or anything like that. But yeah, those have been on my mind, especially Mega Man Legends, the 5-Island Adventure, as well as the Phantom of Network, Legends of Network, Battle Network mobile games. Those ones are pretty interesting because my understanding of those, it's always been kind of hard to glean the data on those, but my understanding of those is that they are like pretty legit full-sized Battle Network games that you just played on your Japanese phone. So I'm keeping an eye on that. My understanding is that the translation and localization has been in progress for a while now. So yes, I'm keeping an eye on that. As those come along, we will almost certainly be doing those, especially since with Capcom once again shoving Mega Man under the floorboards, it's the most exciting Mega Man news that we've got in like a 4-year radius. So, but yes, that's going to be, yeah, some of them were more apps than games. If anything, there might be like a single video to cover a handful of apps altogether in the same vein as the Too Much Tingle Pack for the DS. And yeah, I think any actual games will get their own like separate like thing there. I don't know when that's going to happen. Both between where we are in terms of our schedule and also how far along those things are. I may kind of plan a sort of mini event around it, like in terms of like when that comes out, just because, you know, it'd be nice for them to all be more or less good and playable in order for that to happen. Though granted, also like I chat with some of those folks enough. I'm curious whether they would be willing to, you know, let me in on the ground floor with a couple of those and be like, hey, you know, as this thing is kind of wrapping up, would it be cool if I could kind of get a scoop on one or two of these and record a playthrough to help kind of like, you know, kick in the door, let people know that this stuff is a thing. I don't know if that'll actually be a thing or not. I don't want to make assumptions. And funny enough, like it's so weird because like the size of the D-pad is so fluid. So we're at, I think, 17,500 subs right now, which is a pretty good number. That's a very good number. It's technically speaking, I think it's in like the top % of YouTube channels, but that's also because there's just an immense number of YouTube channels that have no or nearly no subscribers. So it kind of skews those, you know, percentiles a little bit. But like, you know, we have our kind of buddies that we got started with. So like, actually, I'm gonna look up real quick just because one of them I think actually had a big boom recently, but I want to double check real quick. Let's see if I can figure this out here. Okay, so Game Face has pulled ahead a little bit. They're at 23,000 subscribers, and the other one, I think they were Born Losers Gaming like took off at some point in the last like year or two. I don't know when it happened, but they're getting close to 50K, which is fucking awesome for them. I'm super glad. Our 3 channels had been like hovering in the same zones for a really long time, and it was kind of a matter of like, okay, somebody has to blow up. Let's see, subscribers. Yeah, somewhere it looks like, I mean, for one, they've just had really good growth for a while now. Like every month has been a couple hundred subscribers, which is awesome. Apparently last spring they had kind of a big bump where all of a sudden they were getting, for a couple months straight, they were getting like over 1,000 subscribers a month, which is fucking sick. But like, they were kind of examples of Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Ian and Casey, we go way back with Born Losers Gaming to the point where, uh, oh god, we were. Oh shit! How I'm trying to remember who else was there with us. It was me and John, and I think Ben, and I think Retro Trigger and Denari, and I think Ian were like hung out. I think it was at the end of our first Magfest that we went to. We stopped at there's a lunch place that's like on the corner there. I actually ate there my last day at Magfest this year as well. But like we've all been kind of in cahoots long enough where like back when Ian had a different co-host on the channel. I feel bad that I forget his name. Oh no. Oh, I feel really bad now. That's my brain is saying Brian, but I don't think that's right. I think that's just because that has Ian in it, and that's not right. But yeah, Ian Casey and Max and Lynn. I mean, both like, so they actually we had them as guest commentators for the games. I think both years actually. I got to double check on that, but I think we had them as guest commentators for both years of that. But like, you know, we're all kind of, I guess we're the smallest of the three at the moment, at the very least. But we all kind of were in the same sort of area in terms of size for a while. There's another channel that we hung out with, but they kind of had a pretty intense split. So I don't want to get like into that as well. But then so we're doing Mario Party Madness, where it's this wide variety of folks. Like some of the folks that are involved, I think Vernius just hit 200,000 subscribers. And I don't think that they're the biggest channel that's in there. I mean, Some Call Me Johnny is like someone who has done some stuff with them before, and he's humongous. And then we got folks who like have almost no YouTube whatsoever, and they do streaming on Twitch. And I definitely feel like a small fish in that pond in terms of like, I feel super flattered to be in there, and I have a great time with those guys. And I'm just like, oh my God, what are we doing here? How did we get scooped up for this? Oh my God, there was a reason that I dove into this thing. Oh, I don't know that we're like big enough or tight enough with the folks who are doing the restorations and preservation of the Mega Man stuff to be able to coordinate a thing like that. If it was something that was in motion, I certainly wouldn't be like talking about it either. I would want to keep that under wraps. So I guess that's my way of saying that there's not anything happening right now at the very least, I guess. We did get a special mention back in 2020, I think. It might have been V Hyper was doing like the Mega Man Awards, essentially. Like they did a Mega Man like award show style thing, and they had a bunch of like special thanks for stuff, and we got mentioned in there, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that we're able to, in the worst case, we'll get in on it when we get in on it. Regardless of whether it's before or after stuff becomes kind of public with the final versions of those. I was hoping to get in on, there was a point where I almost was able to get in on the Ocarina of Time prototype that got found, and it kind of fizzled, partly because the folks who had their hands on it first really wanted kind of the exclusive as the starting thing, which is like totally fair, but then like it just kind of seemed like it kept dragging out. And it never really. Did that ever wind up like getting dumped properly? It looks like it was. I think. Yeah, it looks like it probably was. There's a lot of prototypes for Ocarina, so I don't know, but I was hoping to get in on that at some point, and we still might, but I do my best to keep my head on straight and not get an ego with any of, like, we got really lucky with Mega Man Fully Charged, and with the Michael Jackson video, But we got really lucky with both of those things, and I want to stay humble and all of that. It was very cool, but also clearly, we don't exactly have enough sway with the folks at WildBrain to keep from having our videos get claimed or anything for Sonic Prime or even for Mega Man Fully Charged. So I don't think that we're in a position to really make moves to do certain things, but yeah, long story short, the Mega Man mobile games of all sorts are on our radar. I am keeping an eye on that. I do try to keep up to date with that as best I can from Proto Dude and Mega Man Network and all those guys. So hopefully that stuff will come out pretty soon, and it'll be good when it does, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, and honestly, if we sorry, just jumping back up to the script reading. Yeah, I think it's the question of how we even format it at all, because it'd be very cool to be able to do a video thing, do video chat kind of thing, or just hell if someone's got VTuber stuff that they want to do for it too, and yeah, maybe that's what we wind up doing. If I'm trying to make the self-lesson for 2024, knowing when to cut my losses. And that might be one of them. If it's just not coming together, if it's just not going to be a thing that we can get everybody for, then maybe it's a matter of me kind of curating stuff and bringing it to the community, the D-pad community, and doing a thing collaboratively like that. And that kind of relates to one of the things that was being suggested. I think we talked about it last month, actually, about stuff that can be done to fix some of the issues we're having with copyright claims on YouTube, especially for reviews. I've been having a harder and harder time over the years getting reviews to actually stick on YouTube. We had the Bond reviews, and those were getting increasingly difficult to keep online, to the point where I think one of them might actually just be fully blocked right now. Sonic Prime obviously has been historically difficult for me to get anything online for it because Netflix is a hawk when it comes to copyright defense on their side. The Mega Man, NT Warrior, and Star Force animes were really tough to get stuff in there because music in particular they get really iffy on. So one of the things that got suggested, excuse me, one of the things that got suggested as a possibility, we all kind of arrived at the conclusion at the same time, which is okay, so maybe Sonic Prime becomes a seriously review, and that is a lot easier for me to defend as fair use. I can actually take it further than just the point where I go, yeah, I guess you're right, never mind. The D-pad and chills, I have no legal defense for those in terms of commentary videos really are not fair use, essentially. So the way that that's always worked for me is yeah, if it gets claimed, then yeah, they're right. I can't say that oh no, this is definitely transformative. It's no, it's basically the definition of a derivative work. It's us watching something and talking about it as it goes. It's one thing to do a review, even an off-the-cuff review, but it can't just be set to the product itself, right? Dr. No is completely blank. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. So what might wind up happening, for one, at least the seriously videos I can fight to some degree, and I got to check what the issue with it is. Maybe there'll be a recut at some point. But I think D-pad and chills, especially things that are difficult to get on YouTube, are going to wind up going up on Patreon. And I guess hypothetically I could put them up for free. I hadn't actually considered that as a possibility, but essentially I had said a long time ago that we weren't going to paygate anything. This would have been 8 years ago at this point. So I'm still trying to figure out what I want to actually do. Oh yeah, the Fine Brothers. That's right. Back when that whole fucking fiasco went down. Holy cow. Terrible, crazy scam of an idea. It's honestly shocking that they thought that was not going to get sniffed out immediately. Legitimately kind of scummy behavior. And I'd be willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they weren't intentionally trying to be scumbags, but they clearly didn't think about it very hard in terms of what they were offering for what they were charging, um, and what they were getting off of the work of other people. Like it was a straight up scam. So yeah, that was a wild fucking time. I'm glad that the internet by and large like jumped on that and was like, fuck no, that's a stupid fucking idea. No. So yeah. But yeah, so there's a good chance that the Deep Head and Chills will wind up on Patreon in one way or another. It might be behind a paywall. Like in terms of, and by that I mean like it might be behind like a $1 or $5 or whatever patron thing. For two reasons. One, I do want to be able to offer stuff that makes people feel like they're getting their money's worth, and special uploads like that is at least something. Two, the biggest thing that I wanted to avoid was just putting stuff up on Patreon because like that was always kind of the bigger thing I was concerned about in terms of like not putting stuff behind a paywall just for the sake of it. Like I didn't want to just put stuff there because I was like, I could put it on YouTube or I could make money putting it on Patreon. Like, no, it was more like I don't want to. I always feel a little bit weird. Like, and it's funny because like I have a Nebula subscription, so every now and then I'll watch Jet Lag the Game a week early because they have that. Not a paid sponsorship, obviously. But like one, my editing schedule is like asshole to the wall in terms of like how like tight the schedule is for that. None of our videos are done a week ahead of time ever. So it's not like I could offer that as like a perk. And even if I could, the number of videos is way too much for that to be a thing anyway. And I like to, have everybody have a big reaction together in the end. Like it was fun today to be able to have both the Tears of the Kingdom 200th episode be a big kind of event, but especially the face-offs for Padlocks. I really like when people all kind of jump in on the chat for that and are having a good time watching and predicting how those go. The final one is presumably going to be sometime in the spring. I don't know when. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get to the end of the game. I don't know how long it's going to take John to get to the end of the game. I don't know if either of us, if one or both of us are going to have to grind up new teams when we inevitably get our faces smashed in by Cynthia. So it's going to be a whole thing. But like the big thing that I wanted to avoid was just putting stuff behind a paywall just for the hell of it, or putting stuff up early just to make that like, oh well, if I put it here, then people. So this is less that, and it's instead, it's this or nothing, essentially. Like we obviously are having it is clearly becoming not feasible to put Sonic Prime on YouTube. I might be able to get a Seriously video that works. I don't know. I really not positive whether that's going to be a thing that actually happens or not. And I feel I've vocalized this plenty of times. I feel super bad about that too, and I feel double bad because I know that it's not my fault. I don't have any control in this situation really. But I feel bad because I have been enjoying the show and the animators worked really hard on it. A ton of the animators on that show are still there from Mega Man Fully Charged. And, I miss those days. They were good times. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's something that's probably going to wind up happening is that D-pad and chills or otherwise risky blocked content is going to wind up on Patreon somewhere. The question is going to be how much, what that winds up being in terms of like what kind of wall in front of it, right? Is that a $1 thing, a $5 thing, or something else, right? The other one that came up recently was the credits and videos. I agree that it is a mess right now. It's a mess for me. It's a mess for you guys. I feel like it is confusing for everybody to try to keep track of that. I feel like I'm just kind of like every month just throwing the same mass of stuff onto Patreon, not onto the videos, to like figure out where people are going and all of that. I have a huge notepad file that's got everyone's Patreon names, everyone's preferred names for YouTube videos, the set of videos they're attached to. I've got color codings in there for folks who need to be added or removed from stuff. So I think that's going to also probably change. It was nice to have it like that for a while, and I think some folks really did like having that as like a tiered system for it, but it is becoming really awkward and difficult to maintain. It means that once a month I have to like rework all of our outros, which is kind of getting tricky. And like if I can come up with a system that is like, okay, rather than, so like Sonic, for example, Sonic's a really tricky one because the background, so there's a video, so the layers that are in there, one of these days I'll have to actually show off what our editing setup looks like for some of these. The outros for that, for Sonic videos, there's the Sonic sprite is its own layer. There's the special thanks. Each of those is a single element, and the video like references with titles. That, man, those were a lot more useful back in the days where the annotations were a better thing there. I could probably still do them now, but I think they're actually too small for how YouTube sets the end cards, which is kind of a bummer. But the grass, like the background, is a video file that legit takes like an hour or two to render because there's so many moving parts to get that classic parallax scrolling style effect that the Genesis managed. But also, the thanks for watching and the Supersonic Let's Play logo are part of the background video. And every now and then, it becomes really weirdly hard to find the source materials for that if I need to tweak it. So anytime we have when we have different patrons, that's not a problem. When it's a different number of patrons, that becomes kind of tricky at times because I have to resync and retime a bunch of stuff. So like, I think what is going to wind up happening is that, yeah, I think we're probably going to start putting in our, like, similar to how, honestly, virtually every other content creator with a Patreon does it, which is you have the list, right? Some folks do, like, tiered lists, like, oh, so-and-so's bigger or smaller based on number. I don't know if I want to do that just because that kind of brings us back from like, oh, we can make this really simple to, okay, let's make it complicated again. So I don't really know. That's something that's worth discussing, is whether tiered special thanks are worth doing. Fortunately, Zelda and Kirby are not going to be very big issues for this mostly. Nightmare of the Dreamy Let's Play is going to be coming back soon, and I guess that would bring it back. But like the Dreamy Let's Play, the main Dreamy Let's Play is over again until they put out a new game. But like Sonic, Pokemon, all of these things. So like that's going to be the big trick, is figuring out how some of those work. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, like the way that outro is set up is not really geared towards it. So like that might be kind of a hanger on, especially as we get near the end. And yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Like I like it too. I like the idea of backing by series. It's twofold, right? So problem one is that it does make it confusing from a lot of different angles, both for setup, for editing. It's honestly probably a little confusing for viewers who aren't really aware of how that works mechanically. And related to that, the second problem is it does also make our Patreon look like it's only got like 2 or 3 people on it, which isn't like the end of the world or anything, but it is a little easier to suggest or convince to someone. It's like, hey, we got a Patreon with, a couple dozen folks on it. It'd be cool. Do you want to join in on that? Versus like, here's a video that's got 2 or 3 names at the bottom of the screen, and then that's it. So like it kind of is, right? Like the seed money issue is like, it's not an inaccurate way of putting it, right? The easiest way, and like I've worked in a bunch of startups, so I'm familiar with the rhythm where it's like, okay, if the easiest way to convince someone to give you $1 million is to have $1 million. You're not going to convince someone to give you $1 million if you've got nothing, right? Startups all the time, they want to know that you have money, or not the startups, but investors in startups. They want to know that your company has money and that it's at least not losing much money. Because usually, if you're looking for investors, you're not profitable yet. Because once you're profitable, you don't need investors anymore. You're now making money. The idea being that they're investing in you so that when things become profitable, it comes back to them. But yeah, so like the wallow names is probably the best solution from a lot of different standpoints. It'll make it a lot easier for me to set that stuff up. It probably will still require a different approach per series, just because all the outros are pretty unique. I have thought about putting together like a more like stock intro outro that has nothing to do with like what specific game we're playing, and like I've been playing around with some ideas for that for a while. There might be some stuff when we have some more like just random pick up a game and go kind of deals. I actually the Poly Mega is plugged in right now, and I've been slowly working through. I've been essentially digitizing as much of my classic collection as I can. Basically all of the NES, Super Nintendo, N64, and Genesis games I own are now on there. 32X as well, and I've been working on PlayStation 2. Are you actually able to upload videos to YouTube, to Patreon? I believe so. On the Patreon creator side, there is a video option that will give you an upload file. Let me double check real quick if there's a file size limit on that, because that'd be the real issue, if anything. So I go over to create. There's a video option. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about limits. You can select a video to upload it directly. You can embed a video URL, and you can also connect directly to Vimeo. Vimeo is a little weird for that. I would rather not do Vimeo. I actually have a Vimeo that I haven't used in years. It has nothing to do with the D-pad. It's got everything to do with back when we were doing indie film stuff. But yeah, we should be able to upload directly to Patreon. If for some reason we were having issues with file size or playback quality or something, then I would probably put them on Vimeo and hope that the copyright system is a little bit less severe on that side. But it would still go through Patreon either way. And I think that's kind of where that's going to wind up going. So yeah, that's kind of the meat and potatoes there. I think odds are the Patreon Hangouts are still going to stay $9 tier, or if it does go back to $10 or something, like I think that tier probably makes sense. Just because in terms of like how, or hell, maybe it winds up being that like, I don't know, because on the one hand, it's the question of like, should $1 get you onto the videos, or should $5 be the Hangout but $10 be videos or something. So there's like some math that really needs to be figured out for a bunch of these things. Not to mention whether we even have some of these perks stick around at all. Maybe some of these just don't wind up existing. I think the list of special thanks is obviously like the one thing that is absolutely sticking around. I think the Hangout is like the next thing that is definitely sticking around. I think everything else is more or less in flux though. So there is going to be posts coming for that. Hopefully tonight. I say tonight, but I also on like so little sleep that it might be in the morning, but it'll be before this time tomorrow, like in the worst emergency case scenario. I'm going to try to get it done tonight either way though. But yeah, so over the next couple weeks, it's going to be probably fielding ideas for the next like 2 weeks, and then kind of workshopping them and seeing how people feel about them for the remainder of March going into April. And then things will change. Things will kind of go for there. Planning to put currently blocked restricted videos on Patreon if this goes through. Yes. Yeah. I think whether they're blocked or not, all of the Seriously reviews will wind up going up on Patreon, especially since many of them have cuts taken out of them. Like I think most of the NT Warrior ones had cuts. I would have to go back and check that I have not like uncut versions. I think I do. But yeah, I think anything that was at risk of restrictions will wind up on there. And if I wind up not catching one that is restricted, then I can work on getting that up as well. But yes, that's the plan essentially. I think is that we'll wind up putting up restricted and blocked videos on Patreon. I'm trying to think if there was anything else for that. No, I think that's it with that. The next hangout is probably going to be a public one, which is going to be fitting, honestly, especially if we're changing how the Patreon works overall. It'll be a good opportunity to kind of talk through some of the things that are going on there. But that'll be, I believe, oh boy, it would normally be March 29th, but I think there's a good chance that we're going to be pushing it. I was gonna say earlier, but I guess it makes more sense to push it later. We're not gonna be around the night of the 29th, where we've got plans that night, so we won't be there, or won't be here. Normally, I think I would push it forward to the 22nd, but the anniversary stream weekend is going to wind up being the week after that, so maybe that's what we'll wind up doing is April. Oh boy, that'll be the 5th, I think. Friday, April 5th sounds right. Would probably be when our next thing is going to be. That's going to be public. We will most likely have a different layout. I've hated this silly like just camera with the chat like that for a while. I want to clean it up a little bit, make it look a little nicer. I don't know if we'll necessarily have a better. You can kind of see the pile of boxes has been getting a lot smaller behind me here. That's actually a shelf. Right here is just a wall that's got 4 game cubes next to those empty shelves and nothing else. But yeah, that'll be where that's happening next month. I'm trying to think if there was any other like that level kind of business to attend to. That's probably the best way to segue into the next anniversary stream. I'm going to keep details a little light on this for right now. The official announcement with all the dates and things and what's exactly happening is going to be probably about 2 weeks from now, maybe 2.5. But the plan, as it stands right now, is our 13th anniversary stream. Going to be a 24-hour marathon as usual, most likely going from Friday the 5th of April into Saturday the 6th. We've already got a few things that we're planning on. We have kind of a light theme going that I think people might have some fun with. And we're kind of working on bringing a bunch of stuff back from previous marathon streams, perks and silly things to donate for. We might even bring the water gun back. I don't know. We're trying to decide if we're gonna have cupcakes again. Usually that's better for like charity streams, but a smaller version of the cupcake thing as kind of a bystander sort of silly thing there. Let's see. Plan paywall on the block videos will also be smart to get rid of the versions of those videos that are floating around outside of YouTube. I don't know that there are any versions of them that are floating around outside YouTube. I mean, there's ones that are on dpad.fm, and what I may wind up doing is the ones that are up there, I'll probably just add a redirect on the website to just point them at wherever it is on Patreon at that point, just to make it as unconfusing as I can. Other than that, though, we don't really have any that exist anywhere else as far as I'm aware. Any other versions of those that are online are probably unauthorized re-uploads. So yeah, we don't really upload our videos anywhere except YouTube and our own website, and that's basically it. But yeah, yeah, the website, yeah. Yeah, and if those do wind up on Patreon, like all of those, then like yeah, that'll just be something that that just redirects them at that point. It'll be easier, it'll be lighter on the website itself, and it'll keep us a little bit more like legally safe too, which I think is a good call. But yeah, the general gist that we're kind of rolling with for this year's anniversary stream is bringing back old, preferably unfinished or poorly finished things that we have done before. Most of which will be other streams we've done in the past that have not gone so well, including marathon streams. But some might not be. We have, I think, 3 or 4 things that we've already got kind of lined up. And we're considering some others. If there is anything that we've done before that that stands out that would be good for us to cover a second time or to cover more correctly than the first time, we'll be happy to hear that and kind of plan potentially to get in on that. But yeah, details we're still figuring out. We should have a real answer for that in, like I said, about 2.5 weeks. And all of our various like plans for the stream should be figured out for then. 24-hour stream. I think we'll I don't know for the anniversary streams if we ever really do. I'm trying to remember if we've done like bit incentives that are for like large amounts. Like not like for an individual person, but like, every 100, every 10,000 bits that gets donated collectively, we do a thing or something. But that'll be something we'll kind of figure out as we go. Again, not really trying to like squeeze money out of people or anything, but if we can give you guys something fun that you can do to torment us with, then that can be a fun time as well. I think that's about it as far as the marathon stream for right now. Another batch of cupcakes. Yeah. Oh boy, that's pretty light as far as the cost for another batch of cupcakes. Considering the equivalent of 5,000 bits was what was making us eat one cupcake in previous streams. But yeah, there may be some cupcake stuff going on. Maybe it'll be, every 5,000, 10,000 bits there'll be a cupcake eaten or something, and we'll bring that back. I don't know. We gotta like plan it a little bit better as far as time. We got caught a little bit with our pants down on the last one, so we were kind of like flying through it. So if we have our plans set a little bit further out, then we'll be good to go on that, I think. I guess it is probably a good time to hop into the video schedule where we're at with stuff. Let's see. Zelda. Today we had our 2-hour 200th episode of Tears of the Kingdom. It wasn't originally going to be a 2-hour thing. We just figured it was going to be like a supersized, probably hour-long episode, and it kind of just kept going. There was always like just enough of a carrot that we were like, let's do that, let's do that, let's do that. And it wound up being mostly focused on the Lightning Temple, with a little bit of extra at the very end, but I was pretty happy with it. I think it was a great way to ring in our first 200th episode of anything. Our first and hopefully last 200th episode of anything. I don't think anything should really have 200 episodes in general for us, but it's cool in there. We have now gotten all 4 phenomena. Peter and I have recorded a couple more episodes that go beyond that. We're doing some stuff in the Gerudo region. I don't know how long we're going to hang out there before we start making our way back to Lookout Landing. Yeah, it was interesting to see that like it almost feels like the it's I forget where we comment on this. It might be in one of the videos that hasn't gone up yet, but it feels like they just kind of took like something, like they took the Mothulas like from Wind Waker. They've evolved slightly, and someone just decided to call them Gibdos. Even though they are really not Gibdos, kind of at all. It's a really interesting, like, if they did that on purpose as kind of like, words and terms change and things over time, like it's kind of a fun thing. But yeah, they're definitely more like Mothulas than Gibdos. I mean, they shamble, but they're also way closer to Redeads than Gibdos. Like there's a lot that's confusing about how they did the Gibdo stuff there, but Yes, at the tail, literally, not to spoil episode 200 if you haven't seen it, but yes, we realize in the episode, and before we're done, we go and do that cave. So yes, we did discover and figure out how that power is relevant now, which is good. But yeah, I don't dislike the Gibdos. It's just funny that they are so different from any version of Gibdo before in terms of like what they even are. But yeah, so oh yeah, no, I figure there's we already had one that we found a few episodes back that we couldn't figure out what to do with it. Turns out we couldn't do anything until we had Reju. But yeah, we and then there's always like if I've got to do solo episodes, I've got my list of stuff. I still want to get all the light routes underground. I want to head back to the God, I forget what the name of it was, but the place where you had like a task for each of the sages to do. We now can actually do the final one there, so that'll be good. Turn the Helmosaurs into insects back in Majora's Mask. That's true. Yeah, they kind of became those little buggy dudes for that, which is interesting because like they didn't look terribly unlike what the little ones in A Link to the Past looked like, but obviously the Helmosaur King looked nothing like any kind of bug things at all. What was the other big one? Gomas have a really interesting. They kind of fluctuated for a while between spiders and crabs. Hip loop, yeah, you know. Yeah, the Gomas kind of fluctuated a little bit between whether they were supposed to be spiders or crabs for a long time. Including, oh man, I'm trying to remember. No, they were a different thing. There was like a lobster enemy in Skyward Sword, but I don't think that they were. I don't think that they were related to Gomas at all. There's a centipede. That's true too. Yeah. Man, yeah, they've played it pretty fast and loose with biology and evolution and stuff in Zelda games. I am curious where the rest of this game goes. I would be very interested. I don't think they're going to connect anything with it, but there's those little robotic constructs back in Skyward Sword that really feel a lot closer to being Zonai constructs now with the new story stuff that's been added and just the look and feel and all of that. But I don't think that that they are canonically connected at all, which is a shame because like it's just close enough that I think that it's not unrealistic headcanon. But any estimate for how many episodes you think are left? Oh God, not really. Let's see. So I don't know how long the final leg of the game takes in general. There's a set of like 4 or 5 tasks we know are involved in the end. We got to go to Lookout Landing. At some point, we got to go investigate the ring ruins at Kakariko Village. We need to investigate the Zonai Storm. We need to go activate the construct factory in the depths. And we need to storm Hyrule Castle. And I don't know how long each of those steps would take. I mean, I figured that they're all part of the same general like line of quests. But that's in addition to I want to get the rest of the light routes, like I was saying. We've done the Colosseums now, so that's one thing that's off the list. I do want to try to clear out as many of the quests as I can. Koroks are not one of those quests, and neither are shrines, so that's a good thing. But like, I don't know if I will want to finish out the Wells quest, just because that feels a little too random. And some of them are like, hey, I hope you found the ruins that has a well in it. That might actually not be too terrible, but I would probably rather not like just go hunting for those anyway right now. But yeah, most of the rest of the quests I think I would like to try to finish. So my guess off the top of my head, I think that we will be. I don't think that we'll cross 250. My guess would be like 235. Somewhere around that is my just kind of rough estimate. Are you planning to eventually do that stuff like you did with Breath of the Wild? Yes. And I'm not going to wait this time around when we do the final episode of the game, I'm going to probably switch gears from the Nightmare streams, provided we've started them at that point. We're planning to start those after the anniversary stream, but depending on when Tears of the Kingdom wraps up, I might hold it off a little bit longer and do some closing Tears of the Kingdom streams, and those will be getting all the wells, getting all the shrines, getting all the Korok seeds with trackers. I'm not insane, and just kind of clearing out the rest of the game, getting 100%. AJ Onuma had said very early on that there is not going to be DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, so we don't really have anything to wait for. Well, that's the thing. It's less like Zelda's going to take a break for a little while. It's more like Zelda would be taking a break for the next 4 or 5 years again. But also especially if I am smart with the tracking ahead of time on this, I think there will definitely be fewer of those streams for Tears of the Kingdom than there were for Breath of the Wild, because we didn't have as many navigation options. That really does help a lot here. And I think I've got a better idea of how to handle some of this stuff this time around, now having Breath of the Wild behind me. I also don't know what goes into 100% completion yet. I haven't looked it up. I don't want to look anything up for that until after the game is over. But it would probably be so what will wind up probably happening is, if there's any 3DS or Wii U stuff that we have to do before the servers go down, that would probably come first. And then we would probably do Zelda, which would be a couple weeks, honestly. I would probably, if anything, take Tuesday and Thursday just to get it done quicker. There's so many Taluses and Froxes and Hinoxes. Yeah. And again, if I am marking those carefully, that'll make it a little easier, especially with all the shrines and light roots and things available. Planning on completing both regular Return to Dreamland and the deluxe version separately? Yes. I'm going to be doing both of those. Return to Dreamland is actually, I think, coming up moderately soon. Yeah, that one is, okay. Moderately soon is kind of a loaded term. It is the 4th game in the list right now in terms of what's coming up next. But the first thing that's on that list is Smash Brothers Brawl, so we're going to be at that for a while. Smash Brawl, Superstar Ultra, which is basically just powerless arenas, because we 100%ed that to unlock everything in the first place. That'll be short. Then is Kirby Mass Attack, and that could also take a while. Then is Kirby's Return to Dreamland, the original, which we still got to do extra mode. We got True Arenas. I might go for Platinum ranks on the challenges, and then we got the arena, the powerless arena fights. Are you doing both? I don't know. It just kind of feels like we're. I'll feel weird leaving it behind, not having done it, basically. And it's going to be a pretty good stretch of time before Deluxe comes around anyway. There's 20 more games between Return to Dreamland and the Deluxe version. I'm not doing the original Epic Yarn because we never covered that one separately, but that's the other one too, is relatedly, I'm still not sure how I'm going to handle Sonic Shadow Generations. I don't know what we're going to do for that in general. Reason one being that we're so buried in new Sonic games that we haven't covered yet that it's going to be kind of tricky digging ourselves out of that right now anyway. Two is not only have we not gotten to regular Sonic Generations thus far, and I actually do want to highlight that one separately, specifically because of control differences and things. But the other one being, we haven't even covered some of the games that are in a Sonic Generations. We haven't done Sonic Unleashed yet. We haven't done Sonic Colors yet. So it feels kind of weird to jump directly to a Generations game that is highlighting a pair of games that we still haven't played. So I want to... There's a non-zero chance that we just sit on Sonic X Shadow, Sonic Cross Shadow, whatever the fuck they're calling it, Generations, until the far end of stuff. if anything, I really like the original Sonic Generations, so it should be a welcome reward at the far end of everything. Um, Return to Dreamland. Some of the songs in the jukebox have to be unlocked by going into secret areas. Yeah, I mean that's that. I figure that's probably the case. And like if there's any secret stuff like that, will wind up at minimum. I'll take a look at like what stages, what stages those secret areas are in, and then I can kind of figure those out from there. From the sound of it, there's a really weird sequence to get into a secret room in Deluxe that I don't know if it's in the original. Like I think it's in the Magalore epilogue. There's one that involves like hitting a switch then going back through a whole area or something, which is odd. But yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on those. But we have quite a lot ahead of us. Frustratingly, there's a lot of 3DS that I need to like double, triple, quadruple check over the next like month, basically. And yeah, any of them that anything that requires that internet connection is going to be. Oh, Deluxe has some that are like that. Gotcha. Okay. Any games, and this goes for all of our series. So like Sonic, I think might be affected by this too. Anything that requires Wii U or 3DS like server connections, we're probably going to. So for the Nightmare streams, I'll probably stream those on the like earlier. I'll stream them essentially in the next month or so. The Sonic ones, since we're not streaming those generally, those will probably be stuff that we pre-record and hang on to, and then we'll just release them when we get there or something. I don't know. But yeah, figuring those out, it's really inconvenient, let me tell you. Yeah. I do like that that on the downside is when we're coming back to the Nightmare streams, we're jumping into another Smash Brothers game, and it's maybe the most frustrating one out of all of these in terms of it's the Smash Brothers game I like the least, and also it's got a shit load of stuff to collect. It dwarfs Melee in such a ridiculous way. I've been working on lots of checklists. I've been working on lots of ways to organize that data in a way that makes it easier for us to streamline. But it's going to be a lot, and we'll probably, at various points, have some multi-game things going on, similar to Air Ride, where we had like Jackbox going in the corner as a second thing to do while other shit is going on, so that the stream is not just the same one thing over and over and over again. But yeah, there's a lot that's still there, so that could be a while before we get to some of these, and it's a bummer that I have to get through Brawl to get to Superstar Ultra, because I do like Superstar Ultra. Relatedly, though, in terms of Kirby, the Dreamy Let's Play is taking a nap again. It is back to sleep. Today we put up the final episode of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe in the standard Dreamy Let's Play. I debated doing the arenas, but it kind of felt like it was going to be sort of like, I don't know. It didn't feel right with like how the rest of the game was the big 4-player thing, and we just kind of were like ding and like, all right, let's let it sit like that. There will be another Kirby game this year, almost certainly, of some kind. It might be a re-release, could be some little collection, could be a new game entirely, but they usually don't miss years altogether. But there will probably be something coming later this year, and we'll jump into that when it comes. And yeah, especially if it's not a 4-player game, it'll be a little easier for us to kind of move our ways through. Do the arenas in co-op. It's true. That's true. I mean, and who knows? Maybe I will wind up coming back to do like one bonus thing. Honestly, getting four of us together is the really tricky part. But yeah, so as the thing, yeah, I think the Magalore team running from an endless wall over and over again for like 20 minutes was a pretty fun way for that to close out too. But yeah, Dreamy Let's Play is back to sleep for a while. In like, I don't know, a month or two, Zelda will also be back to sleep for a while, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's kind of taken over the channel for the last year, so it'll be interesting to see what it's going to be like when that's gone. Diamond and Pearl, it is now time to make my march to Victory Road. I am curious how that's going to go for both myself and John. Uh, I think I'm going to try to have my team in the upper 60s to like 70 zone before we go to the Elite Four. I recall that I think Cynthia's team in rematches gets as high as the upper 80s. I want to say usually standard fare for Elite Fours and Champions tends to be like mid 60s to upper 60s. I think I want to be upper 60s before we even start. With the D-pad rival stuff also being overhauled. Which D-pad rival? There's a few things that are D-pad rivals ish named. Are we talking Pokemon rivals? Are we talking like Sonic 2 versus Mega Man X versus or something else? Most of the Pokemon Nuzlocks, they're not really being overhauled. I don't think there's any like significant changes that are really happening there. In Ty's Red in third rematch, her Garchomp is 88, just like Pikachu in Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Yeah, that was our one of our trivia things for the first for the beta test for U game at PAX East last year. That they both have a level 88 Pokemon. They are the highest level like trained Pokemon that is not part of like a battle regiment event, like battle train, battle tower, any of that stuff. Normal game Cynthia is not bad, is bad, but not nearly as bad as post game. I'm nervous. I'm more nervous about the post game just because getting a level 70 team up to level, I mean, realistically, almost level 90 is gonna be a lot. And I really don't know how I'm going to manage that without a lot of post-game grinding, which sounds kind of miserable. I need to make sure that I've got folks who are ready to fight anybody they come across in Victory Road, which is going to be interesting to see who that even is. Historically, I feel like it's usually a lot of like rock and ground Pokemon, fighting Pokemon, and occasionally some like poison and dark ones in there as well. Oh, I'm sure there's a ton of post-game trainers, yeah. But yeah, as far as Pokemon rivals goes, actually, I think the battle area got removed or something. I thought I remembered reading that there was something that there used to be a Battle Frontier, but it's just gone now or something, or it's like I don't remember. It's not. Is it still there? Okay. I thought I'd heard something about it, but I'm also trying not to look into it too much. I don't want to be like finding stuff out before we get there. But yeah, no. Pokemon Rivals is still more or less the same setup as it's always been. Jeff and Dave have their Brother Lock, which is also wrapping up. They have both now completed their Nuzlocke, so there's one final face-off stream coming. I don't know when that's going to be. I had figured it might wind up being next Wednesday, but I think they're only just coming back from like a trip the day before that or something. I also now am pretty sure I have plans for that night too, so it might be a couple weeks before that happens. But they are now done with their journey. I think they're going to be doing separate streams for a while. I don't know if they're going to if or when they're going to come back to do another competitive Nuzlocke again, or what they would be selecting for the game if they do. As for me and John, we're going to wrap up Diamond and Pearl. When John gets the end of Pearl, that's going to be it for him, unless absolute catastrophe happens to me. I would have to lose like 20 some odd Pokemon in order to lose the entire padlock. And if I reached a point where I was on my B, C, or even D team, I would be like making sure my team is at like level fucking 85 before going into the Elite Four, just to make sure to like actually finally clinch it. John and I do not have whiteout rules, like whiteout equals loss rules, just because we have other Pokemon. The idea for us has always been, if you white out, just that's 6 dead Pokemon, make a new team. I know some folks just make it so that if you white out, you lose altogether. I've never been a fan of that one, only because like you can really get caught off guard, and then having the whole run just completely be dead, even though you've got 30 more Pokemon in the box, always felt a little bit weird to me. But I'm gonna be doing the post game afterwards. and we'll explore whatever there is to explore. I don't know how much there is. I know Platinum is not part of this, which is really disappointing. Next Hangout already meant to be open. Yes, yeah, that one is going to be a public one. I think I might need to change the date on it, but yes, that is going to be a public Hangout. Partly because it's going to be attached to our anniversary stream, and I want to get everybody in on there, especially as we're discussing like what's going to happen with the Patreon going forward. I think it'll be good for everybody to be able to jump in on that. Violet is also over. Pokemon Violet, I finished last night with a crazy super long stream, but it is now done. It is a complete Pokedex. There are only 3 Pokemon that are missing from it to make it a true living dex, and they are the 3 unique Scarlet exclusive unique Pokemon, which is like, at that point, it's like, how do I bribe somebody to give me their extremely unique Pokemon to make that work? But I think the spirit of it is good at this point. Like, I think we're done. There are 2 unique Pokemon from the Blueberry Dex and Koraidon in the Paldea Dex. I traded them and traded back, which is about as far as I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to, like, I had debated at one point, it's like, I could just sit there on, like, the Wonder Trade and just keep going until I get them. There's nothing that stops it from just rolling the dice over and over and over again until I find somebody who's just throwing away their really good stuff. I wouldn't do that on stream, though. That would be a miserable time. But yeah, Violet is now done. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming next Thursday. I may take next Thursday off just for a breather. I do know what I'm going to do next for Thursday. It should be a short but fun ride. And then after that, depending on where things are at with 3DS and Wii U things that need streaming, we may wind up doing those on Thursdays before properly jumping back into Smash Brawl to continue the Nightmare streams. But so it is not RZ. It is not RZ. Though I do have my eye on RZ. Let's see. Did Tears? I did Pokemon. Sonic. We have one more run through Sonic Rivals 2. Did you ever get the Tropico scene at the lake on top of Oni Mountain? I don't think I did. I did not know that there was one up there. That's fun. Oh my god, my train of thought. Sonic Rivals 2. We have one run through left of that game, and we are done finally. We're going through as SBO, and then Sonic Rivals 2 will be over. I have a huge supply of gem apples. So after we finished playing those as regular Let's Plays, I logged on once or twice a day for like a couple months just to get gem apples. I have a shitload of gem apples. And that's the main reason I'm not overly worried about the servers going down, because I think we have enough gem apples that we can just make our way through there. Yeah, how about gem apples? But yeah, I think we'll be good on the Team Kirby Clash. I guess Team Kirby Clash and Kirby Clash Deluxe. I think we'll be good on those. Because at the end of the day, it's just like, oh, you die and it costs more gem apples to keep moving. Which, so long as you have enough gem apples, you can really fucking plow through that. Let's see. Team Kirby Clash. Oh, and Super. Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah. Team Kirby Clash Deluxe, Super Kirby Clash. That is right. And Super Kirby Clash is that one on the Switch? Yeah, it is on the Switch. So really, it's just Team Kirby Clash Deluxe that I would need to like super worry about. As long as the tree is fully upgraded, it's certainly completable. It just makes it easier if you have a little stockpile. Yes, yeah. And we made when we started the game, the first thing I did was fully upgrade the tree, just so that we had it there as an option. It also made some of the early game a lot easier to deal with too, but just to take that out of the equation altogether. So that is all set there. But yeah, Sonic Rivals 2 is going to be ending. I don't know if we're going to have time this weekend. We literally have like a half of one day available for recording this weekend. So next week might be a little on the lighter side. Sonic Rivals 2 probably isn't going to get recorded, but we do have when we do record it, probably next weekend, that'll be the last week. We have some Sonic Superstars recorded. We have not done anything with Sonic Dream Team yet, though I want to cover that as well. And probably when both of those are done, we will then continue moving on through Sonic from there. Yeah. Scrolling through these. Legends. We were talking about Pokemon and I forgot about Legends. Yeah, we're also moving through that very quickly. We recorded there's one more episode in the current session that has not gone up yet, and then we have an entire other session that hasn't gone up yet aside from that. And I believe we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I believe we have 21 Pokemon left to go to finish off Pokemon Legends Arceus from where we are right now. And I did the smart thing in the since that session to now, I have divvied out the missing Pokemon that I have into categories to make it easier. Because before it was just in a big list in Dex order, and it was not always super easy to tell at a moment's notice what I needed for stuff. Now I got 4 baby Pokemon. I've got 2 regular Pokemon that need to be caught. I've got 3 Pokemon that just need to be evolved if I don't find them, and they should be pretty easy with Candy especially. I've got Espeon, which has its own spot in there. I've got 5 Pokemon that have special conditions for evolving, and then I've got the bottom list of like special event Pokemon. So we are very close in that regard. I think, ironically, one of the things that's going to be annoying going into the end is I want that fucking Buizel quest to be done. Holy shit. I got it done faster in my personal file, and it's annoying me that we're having so. I basically just need to go to the Cobalt Coastlands and bother a shitload of Buizel for a while. And just we'll see how that goes, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Legends Arceus is probably going to, let's see, I think we're up to part 43. Buizel Bother, nice. That honestly should just be the title of an episode at this point. I think we're up to like episode 43 of the post game. My guess is that we will be done with the game before 60. I would love to be done before 50. And honestly, if we really like target certain things in a smart order, then that might be doable. I'm trying to think where we even have. I think we have the Wisps in Cobalt Coastlands and Crimson Mirelands. And that's it for Wisps. Like, we're really winding stuff down pretty rapidly on that one. So hopefully that'll be wrapping up soon. And like, yeah, between Pokemon Rivals and Tears of the Kingdom and Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe and Pokemon Legends Arceus, that's 4 games that are all done or ending soon, that are all just going to just wipe away. I was joking with Peter when he was over to record the other day. I was like, yeah, the channel's going to look like unrecognizable in 3 months compared to where it is right now. Just a completely different share of videos going on, which will be nice. It'll be refreshing to kind of have different stuff happening there. It is funny. I like when Breath of the Wild came out, we paused the Dreamy Let's Play for a year to give Breath of the Wild more focus, and because we were at kind of a spot with that where we're like, let's take a breather on that. It's kind of our lowest priority series, and we'll kind of come back to it later in the worst case as it wraps up. And then that kind of happened with Mega Man this time by accident. It wasn't an intentional choice. It just sort of happened. But it is coming back. I am still working on stuff for that. I've got a video that I've been cooking for a while, and I'm trying to decide when enough is enough on getting it done. There might be some collaborative elements to it. There might be some personal elements to it. I'm still kind of getting the last bits and pieces of it ready to go. But I think my best guess right now is that we're going to wind up having that be a thing at the end of the month or at the start of April when other stuff is all kind of coming back together. April might be kind of a hard cutoff between old stuff and new stuff. So we'll see. We'll see what happens then. But yeah, I think what we're going to wind up having after the big schism, I guess, into April, we're going to wind up having. I know. We're going to wind up having. We're going from like, oh, our usual stuff is Tears of the Kingdom and Pokemon Legends Arceus and some Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl and some Sonic videos and occasionally some Kirby videos into, all right, we got Mega Man related material. We've got Resident Evil 5 is kind of on the docket for stuff we're trying to work out details for right now. We're going to have, like, as Star Force starts winding down, we're going to be getting back into Kingdom Hearts. We're going to have Sonic stuff. I don't know if I said that already. Like, it's going to be interesting just how different everything is going to be feeling between the winter and the spring. Which should be exciting, though. That'll be good. And yeah, I think it'll be a good opportunity for us to do some one-offs and like weird little short series. Like I was saying earlier, I've been digitizing a shitload of our classic game collection onto the Polymega, so it might just be easy to just pick up a random game through there and just be like, yeah, we're just gonna fuck around with Final Fight today. Why the hell not? Which could be kind of fun. We'll see. Kingdom Hearts isn't happening until... No, I'm not saying that that's not happening until then. We have started recording Unchained Key. We did not finish it yet. We still have about 2/3-ish of it left to go. We're about a third of the way in. But we're not intentionally holding that back. We're just kind of... We are trying to find weekends where we've got time, the three of us, to be able to sit and comment on it. It's been interesting so far. I'm curious to see that divergence, and then we're gonna be moving on from there. But yeah, we're not stopping it until Star Force. I'm just saying we have not been putting out Kingdom Hearts videos for a while, and we're going to be very soon. Like once we're into April, we will be having Kingdom Hearts videos, like as a regular recurring thing again, which we haven't for a while. Anything you can share in the Complete Odyssey? Nothing yet. I am hoping to have that be a thing that we do later on this year. It's been kind of low priority just because the original goal was to do a 50th anniversary thing, and then timing was really weird, and we weren't able to get it done for then. We were actively house hunting at the time, and that really started to like eat into our availability. And in addition to that, we have like one last piece of all of it that I'm trying to get a hold of, which is tricky because there's not a lot of cash flow right now, and it's a very rare piece of the whole thing, but it's the last one that's missing, and then we should be able to get going on that. I think my loose goal is that we're going to do that in September of this year. We're probably going to record stuff before then, but when it should have been a 50th anniversary, it'll be a 52nd anniversary kind of thing, and we'll do it later on in the year. The complete Wii U is actually probably going to happen, or sorry, the Ultimate Wii U is probably going to wind up happening before that, especially with the servers going down. We're kind of working out details on that as well. That we should be seeing actually pretty soon. I don't have like a ton to share on that at the moment. It's all kind of up in the air in a couple different ways. But those are not forgotten. They are still on the planning board. And they both should be things that get seen this year. I mean, the Wii U one especially would have to get done this year. The Odyssey one, I am planning to have it happen this year. It's really going to depend on a couple external factors, but more than likely it'll be something that we do this year. I'd be pretty surprised if we didn't get into that this fall. Let's see. think those are all the big ones. I don't think I actually got into Star Force. Nothing to really share there. We have a couple episodes recorded for that already. I think we have arrived at the second to last area of the game. So we probably have, including the episodes that haven't gone up, my guess is we probably have between we probably have about 12 episodes, maybe less, honestly. Maybe between 8 to 12 episodes left of the main game, after which we'll be getting into the post game. That's just kind of a loose guess based off of nothing in particular. We have up to part, I think, 53 recorded right now. So you'll be seeing some this weekend, some next weekend, and then we'll be recording more of that as well. On the streaming side of things, I already mentioned Long You Don't Hang on Hey, I mean, honestly, that's been a big. It's been a lot of fun for us, and it's been a big selling point for folks in the comments. So we're having fun with it. We'll see how it goes. It really does depend, though, how heavy the dialogue gets, I guess. I had mentioned Pokemon X and Y and Violet already for streaming. I've also been doing Persona 4 Golden on Tuesdays. We are now in the midst of Chapter 2 of the game. We're in May. That's been going all right so far. We got up to, I think, the first mini-boss of the second dive in the TV station, I guess. So we're probably, I think my goal has been that I would do at least one mini boss per dive, of progress. So anytime we go in there, we get to the next mini boss, if not further. When we did Persona 3 Fest, I think after our first trip to Tartarus, we got all the way to the boss every single time on our first trip in, which made for some interesting pacing. But we're gonna see how this one goes. I don't want to force that. That could be kind of miserable if we're just running our faces into stuff over and over again. I don't know. CJ's been doing Alien Isolation on Sundays, alternating with the Sunday crew doing Barotrauma season 2. I will be honest. I don't keep tabs super well on how they are doing on progress for those, so I don't know what their long-term plans are. I don't know how far either are in terms of progress into the game, but to my knowledge, they're still going strong, and that's still the plan for those. I don't think that's changing anytime soon. No news on Crown Tundra. Still gonna try to get Ben out here. If we reach a point where we've got just straight up nothing to record somehow, or nothing to put nothing that I can put together for videos, then we may just finish Crown Tundra for the sake of having that be good. I think extra Patreon vote might come back. Yeah, I think so. I think it might. I think that is something that was a fun thing to have in there. And I think it works a little bit better for Let's Plays than it does for streams. I guess it worked kind of well for both. My stream schedule is pretty busy now with the bigger meta series and franchise play stuff. But Dave may be open to doing stuff based off of polls for streaming. But for standard Let's Plays, which is how we got Kingdom Hearts 1 in the first place, yeah, I think I'd be open to doing that again, especially since we're not in a position where we're done with Zelda, but there's going to be another 150-hour Zelda game coming out this year. There's nothing that's filling that slot. There's nothing that's filling Kirby's slot. There's nothing that's filling. I mean, Diamond and Pearl is gonna be done soon-ish, and I'm going to eventually this year follow it up with the final third of Insurgents. I have to replay Insurgents to get there unless I miraculously figure out what happened to our save file, because it just seems to be missing. So I may have to play the game again. There are ways that I can hack stuff to make that a little bit more streamlined of a process, but I have to be very careful how I do that, because I need to not trip any sensors that pull us out of Nuzlocke mode. I need to be able to unfuck anything that I do in there so that we're back to normal after all is said and done. Worst case scenario, I'm just going to have to play the game again, period, which could be a lot. That game is hard as shit. But it is going to be coming back at some point this year. I have not had time to dig into it at all so far. That's going to be a lot easier when some of these bigger projects go away, especially Tears of the Kingdom, which is like 3 hours of content a week by itself. So when the schedule is lighter, it'll be a lot easier for me to be planning stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to getting into it. I'm looking forward to finishing it. Whether we get through it as a Nuzlocke or not, I'm honestly fucking stunned that I'm still alive in the Nuzlocke for it. I should have died several times now. I think there's been 4 separate battles that have brought me down to my last Pokemon, many of them being my last possible chance to survive the battle. So that's where that's, you know, kind of at, and hopefully we can keep that going, but we'll see. Yeah, I think that's kind of where everything's more or less at with that, though. It'll be nice to have a bit more breathing room. We got weirdly what's the phrase? I'm gonna say cursed with riches. That's not really quite right, but we had the burden of choice, I guess. We had an abundance of games that all kind of demanded our attention at the same time over this past year, and they're all starting to drift away finally. But yes, the Monstrous Let's Play is still in the works. It is about halfway done. I need to sit down and get the rest of it hammered out. Again, I have not been able to justify the time spent on that, but it is something that is still... I actually almost sat down to record some this week, and then I wound up instead trying to focus on getting the 200th episode for Tears of the Kingdom done. But yes, that is still on the docket. Probably going to be a summer thing. It is more than likely going to be a thing that comes out this summer. Let's see. Survive all the way to the Elite Four. God damn. Instantly wiped to the first Elite Four member. Oh, good. Great. Cool. That's going to be a good time. I think I remember somebody mentioning that the Elite Four is basically like where 90% of 90% of Nuzlocks that make it to the Elite Four just immediately wipe. So I'll be very surprised if I make it out of that alive. I don't even know if it'll help, but there's a very strong chance that I'm just going to try to grind as close to 100 as I can for the Elite Four. I really don't know where my levels are going to be at by that point regardless, and it may not fucking matter anyway. So it'll be interesting to say the very least. But yeah, I think that's more or less where all the big parts of the schedule are. I was debating doing a series of Donkeython streams, just to be able to have done it just for my own sake, like not even for the sizzle reel, but just because like I like those games and I want to do them again. But I might also just like sweep it away, do it again at the end of the year this year instead. Trying to think of anything else that was on there. The Best of Zelda videos will be coming back soon. Again, we just been kind of buried under stuff, so it's been a little bit tricky to get that done. And also like the SADs hit me pretty well over the winter, especially in the midst of the chaos of moving. So motivation got a little tricky in there. So I think we're kind of pulling back out of that. So I think that'll be a little easier to get on. There's a Best of Ocarina video that's been half done for months, so I got to just finish that off. It'll also be a lot easier for me to do best of videos as we reach stuff that I've got cleaner and better source materials for, so that'll be good. But yeah, I think that might be kind of it for tonight. Holy shit, have we really been in for... Oh, I guess it's been more like an hour and a half, a little over. I looked up and it said 2 hours, 11 minutes. I'm like, that can't be right. And it's not right because we didn't come in until about like 8:30-ish. But yeah, that'll probably be it for tonight. The next one of these, I think, is going to be April 5th, right before we get into the anniversary stream. There'll be more details for that coming in the next 2 weeks. There'll be a post coming. It is kind of late right now, so expect it more like in the morning. And that's going to be getting into like feedback and questions and requests and all those things for changes on the Patreon side of things. and changes that happen there. We'll discuss a bunch, and those will get finalized and come into effect for April. So this month will not be affected by that. This coming month of March, it'll still be the way we've done it before, and then April is when stuff is going to start changing. Yeah, yeah. I think that's about it. Holy cow! I am like foggy right now, just like trying to get through the thing there. But yeah, no, I think that's everything. Anything that I haven't mentioned is more than likely stuff that is kind of just in gear turning mode and kind of like planning stuff out. I got a couple things that I'm like working on and getting some details hammered out for us that we should be able to get that going out soon. But yeah, hopefully you guys have a good month. Hopefully the weather's getting nicer for everybody. And when we come back next time, we'll be getting ready for the anniversary stream. So thank you guys super much for hanging out. Anybody who's watching the VOD for this, you can check out, well, there will be changes to it, but if you want to see the gist of how it works right now, patreon.com/dpatfm. There will be a post there for feedback for what you would like to see in the Patreon going forward. So this would actually be a great opportunity to make your voice heard in time to join up for stuff. So cool. I'm rambling. I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good one. I'll catch you next time. Bye.